Hey, Jules Plus Vegan, and welcome to day 3 of our 100-day countdown to the best version of ourselves in the new year. As always, I'm thrilled you're checking in. And for those who are just joining us, you are right on time. There is never a better time than now, even 3 days before the new year, 2 days before the new year, whatever, than to get on with the best version of yourself and your health. And for those of you who have been here throughout, congratulations! Oh my goodness, 97 days down. I think it's actually 98, but who's counting? So anyway, I had a friend pass on something to me. It's called Stress and Emotions Creation Cycle. And it's just out there in the internet land. And I will post it on my Jules Blessed Vegan Instagram, which is all one word. And I will also use it as the icon for this video, so that if you choose to reference it further, you'll be using the same version I am, because like so many things, there's several different versions. But it's super interesting to me because it's talking about how stress affects the different organs in our body. And one thing that is so popular right now is recognizing that the stomach is essentially a second brain. When people say the feeling in my gut, they're not kidding. Your gut is completely aware and connected with what your mind is thinking. And, you really can't separate those two things. So negativity most certainly affects our body and its processes. And that's what this is talking about. So it's super interesting. It starts with stress, and then it rotates up to the first component, which is the liver and the gallbladder. And the negative traits, meaning your personality traits or the way that you function, the negative emotions are anger, jealousy, and envy. So if you kind of hang out in the realm of those three things, or any of them, anger, jealousy, or envy, the physical manifestation of it is that the liver produces more cholesterol, the bile production becomes imbalanced, impairing digestion, and that the blood stagnates in the liver, reducing the ability to detoxify the body. It's pretty serious stuff, right? Luckily, those are not my situation, but believe me, I've got my own situation coming. So as we rotate up the cycle, it goes to the heart and the small intestine. And for those, the main negative emotions are hate, cruelty, and impatience. And physically, the way that manifests is through heart palpitations, high blood pressure, and even chest pain. So, stressors like hate, impatience, and cruelty. None of those are true for me either, though I'll have to say a few years back, I did have a situation where my heart would suddenly race, even when I was at rest. And that's probably like my main thing. Praise God, I've never had high blood pressure or chest pain. But still, it's worth considering. Okay, so as it rotates down, it goes to the spleen, the stomach, and the pancreas. And the main stressors for those are worry, anxiety, and mistrust. And I totally understand that. I know some people who just don't even trust anything in the world. They constantly say, that person's out to get them. They know that the government's doing this and that. It's like if you're going to mistrust everything, no wonder you are a worrier, because you're certain that the ceiling's going to collapse at any moment, and have anxiety. And I'm not criticizing anyone. I'm just saying, I would get that. And so the physical manifestations of that are impaired digestion and difficulty eliminating waste produced by digestion. So that kind of speaks to me of acid reflux and stuff like that, right? And I have had acid reflux in the past. I had that before when I was very stressed out and having a lot of anxiety. Absolutely. Let alone who knows what I was eating, but mostly I was just so stressed out. So I'm sure part of that was true for me. Luckily, that's not the case today, and that is not my typical nature to be a worrier or full of anxiety or mistrust. I offer all of that successfully to the Lord. Okay, but the next two are so me. So it rotates down to lung and large intestine. And for the lungs, the negative emotions are sadness and depression. And as joyful as I appear, I do have this tendency to be very melancholy. If I'm by myself too much, I become very just sad. I have clinical depression and have had that my entire life, so I get the depression part, but it's interesting. These are a subset of me, meaning I don't just hang out bummed or depressed, unless there's a reason someone died, whatever, but it's temporary. But there's an underlying current within me, like just a natural subset of me that is sad and depressed all the time. Isn't that odd? It's so odd. But whatever. Luckily, I don't stay there, but I can't hide from it either. And that's why the body is so affected. So with that, the physical manifestations are breathing problems, hello, asthma, decreased oxygen in the blood, which I totally understand. And I've definitely had blood problems like anemia forever. And constipation. Constipation isn't my thing, luckily. I haven't ever really had stomach stuff that way. But definitely the breathing and stuff. And what it is when I'm stressed out, I realize I'm not even breathing. I'm like literally not taking breaths. And it's kind of funny. Major athletes would be stoked to have a resting heart rate of 54, 55. That's my regular one all the time. And I have one of those watches, which I'm going to look right now while I'm overly excitedly making my video, right? Let's see. Because I'm always hanging out in the 50s, but I am busy with you right now. Let's see what it's saying. Yeah, it's a high of 62, and I'm not talking the weather. So right now, I literally just did my 20-minute bouncer. I'm on Frank, can't even think, sorry. My rebounding for 20 minutes. And then I got some water and came over here to sit down. And so I am at a record high of 62. But that's just the way it is for me. Am I breathing enough? I don't know. I was breathing. I got my heart rate up to about, I think, like 98, which some people would say, well, you're supposed to be more like a 104, 130 high when you're going up from 55 to 98. It's significant. But anyway, definitely depression, sadness are my story. And I do see that it affects my breathing and stuff, though this way of eating has improved it greatly. But from there, it rotates down to the kidney and bladder. And we all know I've had kidney disease if you've been around at all. And the negative emotion for that is fear. And I've indicated that I'm a fear-based person to an extent. And again, that's not something that I'm like consciously aware of on a regular basis, but it is a component of me for sure. So it says the physical symptoms for that, first of all, stress, anger, anxiety, depression, and sadness and fear. So it's kind of like a combination of all of those. And it's loss of primordial sexual energy. Sorry, honey. I have a headache. Just kidding. The body becomes acidic. The nervous system becomes stressed. And there's a loss of life force. And oh my gosh, like right now, by all accounts, my hands are steady. And I do take magnesium for that partly. But man, a couple of years ago, in a familial tremor runs in my family where there's that natural shake, kind of like the Katharine Hepburn, happy birthday. May it not be my case based on diet, but it runs in my family. And I am telling you, the children used to always say, are you okay, Miss McCants? Let me get it for you, because I couldn't even steady my hands. Hello, God, thank you. So that's another one that I totally get, the kidneys. And a lot of what was happening for me, it was really unfortunate, but several years ago I had a principal that was just verbally abusive and awful to me and told me that I wasn't even called to teach. So when a new school opened in the district, I exited stage left. But sadly, 3 years later, she was transferred to that school site. And for the next 6 years, just absolutely abused me to no end. I mean, she literally had me on a teacher improvement plan. She was in my classroom 3 times more than anybody else, had me doing lesson plans no one else had to do. She wrote me up and had me on a teacher improvement plan where for every single review that she did in those 6 years, I not only didn't fall under like in progress, I fell under fail, and it was so bad that there was no way I could transfer out because I had no proof that I was worthwhile at all. And after 6 years of hearing that, it greatly affected me and affected my kidneys. I mean, yeah, I was taking Motrin, but so what? It was the stress and nightmare of that abuse. And even after she finally got transferred, praise the Lord, I basically had post-traumatic stress syndrome. And even in my new district where everybody is loving and loves me so much, I still get crazy paranoid and freak out when I have to be observed and stuff. They don't know it. They really don't know it. Because I'm such a performer, but inside, my body knows it. You cannot outrun your body, people. You cannot outrun the system. So that's why I'm just trying to heal and continue to share and progress forward and make best choices for myself. I'm in a good place now, but even being physically abused as a child, all of the alcoholism in my life, first put upon me and then my own choice, all those things, I'm always outrunning them to some extent. And I just look forward to the next 50 years of just, health and thriving. But I can't deny that a lot of that has been my truth, and you can't hide from your body. So this is called Stress and Emotions Creation Cycle. I'm going to quickly review. So the first one was liver and gallbladder, and the main things were anger, jealousy, and envy. The second one was the heart and the small intestine, and the negative emotions were hate, cruelty, and impatience. The next one was the spleen and stomach and pancreas, and the negative emotions were worry, anxiety, and mistrust. And then from there, it's lungs and large intestine, with the main things being anxiety, sadness, and depression. And finally, it's the kidney and bladder, with the main emotion being fear straight up. And I was just so afraid that I was going to be more abused, that in some ways, sadly, I took on the attributes and abused myself. I am done with that, people. Only wellness and joy from here forward, right? Yeah, that's the best version of myself, not just in the new year, but every day of my life. So as always, like if you like, share so that I can support you in your journey. Certainly join us if you haven't, and know that I look forward to the next couple of days of this year and forever in the next as the best versions of ourselves. And until we talk again, my friends, be blessed.